Something we discovered throughout our gameplay of Disney Infinity 3.0 is that while each character is unique, possessing its own distinct abilities, there are a variety of battle strategies, or as we like to call them, tactics, that can be used across many characters. In this video, we'll be discussing the more common tactics and how to counter them. First, what is a tactic? A tactic is your plan for how you'll fight against your enemy, consisting of what packs and tools you will use, if any, what goal your is for each weapon, and when you plan on using your weapons. A good example is the Atlas gun tactic. This tactic consists of using the Atlas blade and the paintball gun, and is most commonly used by tier 1 characters such as Captain Jack Sparrow or Nick Fury. Since those using the Atlas gun tactic will not be using their inherent attack or ranged attack, we now know what weapons this tactic utilizes. Well, what are our goals for each weapon? The main purpose of the Atlas blade is getting the opponent up in the air by holding the attack button when close enough to the opponent. While this unfortunately puts the user up in the air as well, it's likely that when done correctly, the user will still be able to respond before their opponent. The main purpose of the paintball gun is draining your opponent's health bar while they're in the air. After the Atlas blade puts your opponent in the air, they are relatively helpless. You can unload a full round of paintball pellets into them without them being able to do anything about it. And that's the Atlas gun tactic in a nutshell. It's an offensively oriented tactic focused on draining your opponent's health in just a few moves. The best way to guard against it is trick your opponent into using their Atlas blade to launch themselves into the air, whether that involves making yourself appear vulnerable only to roll away at the last second, or something even more complex. When your opponent is in the air, they are at their most vulnerable. You can then retaliate with the paintball gun and watch their health drain rather than your own. Another common tactic is something we call the quick draw cannon, as it uses the fireworks cannon faster than any other tactic. The quick draw cannon user is one who wields a force pull-like move, such as Kylo Ren's actual force pull or Mickey Mouse's fishing line, in combination with the fireworks cannon to create a rapid and deadly loop, ensnaring the opponent. Quick draw players use their force pull to drag their opponents right into the fiery embrace of their Chinese cannon. This is done repeatedly, so fast that the opponent is often rendered incapable of escape. This tactic is extremely disruptive. It is extremely difficult to guard against, as many force pulls are long-reaching and those can only be stopped by blocks. Unfortunately, the fireworks cannon breaks blocks like nobody's business. You need to constantly be on guard against the loop. Rolling is your best protection. If you do get caught in a force pull, try to roll away as soon as possible. It is also helpful to have a disrupting weapon of your own, such as jack-o'-lanterns or the fireworks cannon. Another prevalent tactic we see is something we have dubbed the BB gun tactic. BB gun users focus on using the paintball gun and their block breaker attack to devastate their opponent. The block breaker will hit the opponent up to the air, and the player can follow up with a barrage from the paintball gun. Many characters have the ability to use this tactic, as many characters have block breakers that put their opponent in the air. The best block breakers for this tactic are ones that put the opponent in the air without easily putting the user in the air. It's important that the block breaker is also easily accessible. If the move that sends the opponent skyward is the third or fourth move in a combo, or it can't easily be used when exiting a dodge, you will have a significantly harder time utilizing this tactic. One of the most annoying tactics to deal with is the one-hit wonder tactic. While there aren't any moves in 3.0 that can instantly kill your opponent, unlike the lightsaber from 1.0, there are moves that create the same effect. There are inherent projectile attacks or combo moves that, when executed correctly, do damage to your opponent while making them dizzy. These attacks can then be comboed together to continue to damage your opponent while keeping them dizzy. While dizzy, your opponent is completely immobile. There is nothing they can do except wait for the effect to wear off. This is why it's called a one-hit wonder, as typically one hit from one of these attacks spells the end of the battle. Blue, Minnie, Joy, and the new Captain America are all capable of using this tactic by employing their chargeable inherent projectile. Tinkerbell is the most ferocious user of this tactic if you disregard the banned item, Syndrome's device. There are also several characters with combos that lead to one-hit wonder projectile attacks. A notable example would be Kanan and Jarrus. Another powerful tactic is the switch cannon tactic. Used by a variety of characters, from Rocket Raccoon to Luke Skywalker. It consists of using the fireworks cannon to send your opponent into the air and using a character's inherent projectile to trap and damage the opponent while they're in the air. If the opponent is lucky enough to get their feet back on the ground, The switch cannoneer should be anticipating this happening and be ready to fire them back into the air with another blast from the fireworks cannon. The key to this tactic is being able to keep the opponent in the air for as long as possible, doing the most damage. Thus, people like Iron Man or Rocket Raccoon, whose projectile attacks never stop to reload, are the most effective users of this tactic. Others, like Zeb or Boba Fett, rely on their fast-paced laser fire to prevent their opponent from escaping early. Still, others such as Kanan Jarrus or Ezra Bridger use their force push to interrupt their opponent's recovery and keep them in the air. Another useful battle plan is a tank tactic. Tanks use their shields or healing abilities to maintain a constant health advantage against their opponents. When they're faced with a loss of health, tanks go on the defensive and wait for either their shields to regenerate or their health bar to fill up before taking the offensive. Rapunzel, Elsa, Venom, Nick Fury, Baymax, Hulk, and Black Panther are just a few examples of characters who can use this tactic effectively within their tier. Similar to the switch cannon tactic is what's known as switch and paint. Switch and painters use their inherent projectile attack to launch their opponent into the air, and then they switch to the paintball gun to capitalize on their opponent's newfound vulnerability. This tactic is employed by characters such as Rapunzel with her frying pan and Korra with her D-Res stick. Another tactic, albeit a defensive one, is known as control. Control tactics take many forms, but focus on hindering your opponent's ability to attack without being overly offensive. Things like Ahsoka's force push, Kylo Ren's force pull, Baloo's roar, Elsa's snowball, and Violet's invisibility are all aspects of control. With so many characters and different ways to play the game, this video is by no means a comprehensive list of all possible tactics. We were merely endeavoring to spell out the basics of the tactics that appear most commonly throughout the game. Thanks for watching. Make sure to let us know what you think about these tactics in the comments below.